She came home exhausted. It had been a long day filled with mistakes and stress. As she stepped inside, she hoped for peace, even silence. Instead, he stood there, irritated about something small. Maybe it was a missed call or a forgotten message. She tried to speak, but before she could finish, his hand struck her face. Her cheek stung, but what hurt more was what he said next. Calm, cold, like it meant nothing to him. You deserved it. Everything stopped. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just stood there staring. In that moment, something inside her changed. She felt nothing but clarity. Not fear, not sadness. Just a quiet decision. This would never happen again. In the bathroom, she looked in the mirror. Her face was red, her expression blank. That silence in her eyes was louder than any scream. She wasn't broken. She was done. Later, he acted like nothing had happened. Said he didn't mean it. Blamed a bad day, a bad mood. She nodded. She said little. But inside, she had already left. At night, while he slept beside her, she stayed awake. No tears, no doubt. Just calm thoughts and a clear path. She started taking small steps. Opened a private bank account. Spoke with a lawyer during her lunch break. Saved every email, recorded every mark, kept everything hidden. He believed she would stay, that he still had control. But he didn't see what was growing in her. Strength, quiet, careful, and real. She smiled at the right times, said goodnight like always. But every moment she spent near him was part of the plan. She wasn't afraid of what came next. She was preparing for it. One morning soon, he would wake up to something he couldn't ignore. Not a fight, not a tearful goodbye, but a clear, official end. No shouting, no warning, just papers. And when he looked at her, confused, angry, maybe even surprised, she would look right back, calm, steady, finished. He said she deserved it. That was his mistake. Now, she would show him what she truly deserved. Not fear, not pain, not silence, freedom. And this time, it would be on her terms. He came home holding a bunch of flowers. His voice was soft. He said he was sorry, that he didn't mean what happened, that work had him on edge. He blamed stress, long hours, money, anything but himself. She nodded as he talked. She didn't cry, didn't argue, just listened. He said it wouldn't happen again, that he loved her, promised he'd change. She smiled slightly and took the flowers from his hand. She placed them in a vase, calm and quiet, and thanked him. But inside, she wasn't moved. She knew what this was. He wasn't sorry for what he did. He was only sorry that she didn't react the way he expected, that she didn't beg or break down. He thought flowers could fix it, that soft words would erase what had already been done. But this time, she didn't believe a single word. She was finished waiting for change that never came. While he sat on the couch, watching TV like things were back to normal, she made a final check on her files. Every paper was in place. Her lawyer had gone over every step with her. She had practiced what to say. It was time. The next morning, they sat at the table. He was laughing at something on his phone. She reached into her bag, pulled out 2 envelopes, and placed them in front of him. "What's this?" he asked, still smiling. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't flinch. "Divorce papers," she said, "and a summons." His smile disappeared. He opened the first envelope, then the second. His eyes moved quickly. His hands started to shake. He said it was a mistake, asked if they could talk, said she was being too harsh, said they should go to therapy. She said nothing. She stood up, took her keys, and walked to the door. He followed, still talking, still trying, still pretending he hadn't crossed a line long ago. She turned once and looked at him, not with anger, not with fear, just with finality. "This isn't sudden," she said. "You just never noticed." Then she walked out. He didn't expect it. He never thought she'd follow through. But she had done her part quietly. No threats, no warnings, just action. The next knock on his door wasn't from her. It was from a process server, dressed plain, holding the exact same documents she'd already given him. Now it was official. He stood there, speechless, as the man walked away. She wasn't waiting for apologies anymore. She wasn't looking for promises. She had already made her choice, and this time, it had weight behind it. Legal weight, real change. He used words. She used the law, and she didn't need to say another thing. He always thought she was too quiet, too soft, too scared to walk away. When he raised his voice, she stayed calm. When he ignored her for days, she carried on like nothing was wrong. He thought silence meant weakness. He didn't realize she was watching, learning, and remembering everything. He didn't know she had started writing things down. Every time he shouted, every time he insulted her, she made a note. She saved receipts, copied documents, and took pictures when he wasn't looking. While he went about his days without a care, she was building a case. She acted the same around him, spoke little, kept the house clean, laughed when she had to, but inside, her mind was working. She wasn't afraid of him anymore. She was focused. Late at night, when he snored beside her, she turned on her phone screen, dimmed the light, and kept reading. She searched for lawyers, made quiet calls, and kept everything secret. No one knew, not even her closest friends. She needed to be careful. She found the best attorney in the city, someone who knew how to deal with men like him, men who thought they were untouchable. She met her lawyer during lunch breaks, explained everything clearly, and shared every bit of proof she had collected. Her lawyer was impressed. "You've done half the work already," he said. She nodded. She had waited long enough. If she was going to leave, she would do it right. She didn't want to run. She wanted justice. Her plan moved quickly after that. She stayed organized, listened to every bit of advice, and followed each step. Every paper she needed was ready. Every detail was checked twice. She wasn't just leaving, she was taking him to court, and she was ready to win. He didn't see any of it coming. He still believed she would never leave, still believed she needed him. He thought her silence meant fear, but she wasn't scared. She was prepared. One morning, the case began. She sat beside her lawyer in court, calm and sure. He walked in, confused, angry, asking questions she didn't answer. She had proof. He had excuses. She had facts. He had stories. The judge saw through him quickly. She didn't smile. She didn't cry. She let the truth speak for her. When it was over, she walked out of the courtroom with her head high. He stayed behind, stunned. For once, he had nothing to say. He thought she was weak. He thought she'd never fight back. But he was wrong. She wasn't loud. She wasn't violent. She was smart. And that was enough to bring him down. For a long time, she stayed quiet. Not because she didn't feel the pain, but because she thought it was better that way. She didn't want her children to grow up in chaos. She believed staying calm would keep the home steady. She hoped things would get better. He spoke down to her, ignored her efforts, made her feel small in her own home. But she swallowed it all. She smiled when needed, cooked, cleaned, helped with homework, and stayed out of the way. Every insult, every cold look, she kept to herself. She thought that was what being strong meant. She told herself it was for love, that maybe he was just tired, that maybe tomorrow he would be different. But tomorrow always looked the same. The kids got older. They started noticing things, how their father treated her, how she went quiet whenever he entered the room. That bothered her more than anything else. But still, she waited, held on, tried not to make waves. Then one night, something changed. It wasn't louder or more violent than before. It wasn't even about her, but it crossed a line she could never forgive. He said something to one of the kids, something sharp, something cruel, and her heart dropped. She didn't yell. She didn't break down. She simply stood up, walked out of the room, and didn't come back. That night, she didn't sleep. She sat at the kitchen table with her phone in her hand, thinking about everything she had accepted, about every time she said nothing, and how that silence had let things get this far. The next day, while he went about his routine like always, she made an appointment. She spoke calmly, clearly, told the lawyer what had happened, what she had been through, and what she wanted now. She didn't want revenge. She wanted freedom, safety, a future where her children didn't have to learn how to stay silent too. When the paperwork was ready, she signed it without hesitation. This time, there were no doubts, no waiting. He didn't see it coming. He thought she would never speak up, but she did. And when she did, it mattered. He was proud of his business. He spoke about it all the time, how he built it from the ground up, how no one helped him, how he made every decision. He always reminded her that without him, she'd be lost. He made it clear that the house, the money, even her comfort came from him. He never thanked her for her part. She had supported him since the beginning. When he worked late, she kept everything else going. She didn't ask for credit. She didn't complain, but he took that as weakness. He acted like she didn't matter. He made her feel invisible. He joked that she wouldn't survive a week on her own, said she had no idea how business worked, but he never noticed what she was really doing behind the scenes. For months, she'd been watching closely. She opened drawers when he wasn't home. She found old receipts, contracts, and records. She quietly copied and scanned everything: bank statements, emails, business deals. She saved them all. While he bragged about deals at dinner parties, she paid attention to every word. When he left papers lying around, she read them carefully. Slowly, she began to understand how his company worked, how the money moved, and what he was hiding. She didn't rush. She made sure everything she collected was accurate. She spoke to a financial advisor in secret, shared the documents, got everything explained clearly. What she found shocked even her. He had more assets than he admitted, more money tucked away than he ever told her. She stayed quiet and kept gathering. Then she met with her lawyer. They reviewed every file, every record she had saved. Her case was strong, solid, and ready. When she finally filed, she made sure everything was included. Every account, every business detail, every asset. She wasn't just walking away. She was claiming what she was owed. He was stunned. He didn't expect her to know anything, didn't believe she could touch his company. But the law didn't see her as invisible. She had been married to him through every stage of that business, and she had the proof to show it. He argued, tried to hide accounts, but it was too late. She had already handed over everything. The court saw the full picture. In the end, she got what she deserved, half. He looked at her like he didn't recognize her, but she was the same woman he had ignored for years. Only now she had shown him what she could really do. He thought she'd never fight. He was wrong. She fought smart, and she won. He loved showing off, especially in front of his friends. At parties, dinners, or at the bar, he would talk big. He made jokes at her expense, said things to get laughs, even told lies to sound tough. They laughed, and he smiled like he had won something. She sat through it all without reacting. When he made rude comments, she stayed quiet. When he laughed about her in front of others, she looked away. People assumed she was used to it, but inside, she felt something shift. One night, they were out with a group. He had a drink in hand and a loud voice. He made another joke about her, called her names, said she was lucky he put up with her. His friends laughed harder than usual. That night, something in her heart closed. She didn't speak about it. She didn't cry. She made a decision. The next morning, she called her lawyer and asked one question. "Can I choose the place where he gets served?" He said yes. That was all she needed to hear. She waited for the right day. She knew his routine. She knew when he would be at the bar with his friends, bragging and laughing like always. She timed everything perfectly. That evening, they went out like usual. Same place, same people. He was relaxed, holding a drink, enjoying the attention. He leaned back in his chair and joked about how he had everything under control. His house, his wife, his life. Then a man in plain clothes walked in. Calm, quiet, holding a large envelope. He looked around, walked straight to their table, and stopped in front of him. "Are you his full name?" the man asked. He looked up, confused. "Yeah, you've been served," the man said, and handed him the envelope. Everyone at the table froze. He sat there holding the papers, trying to understand what just happened. She didn't say a word. She picked up her purse, stood up, and walked out. He opened the envelope in front of everyone. Divorce, court summons, details inside. His friends stared, no one laughing now. She didn't need to raise her voice. She didn't need to defend herself. The message was clear. He had embarrassed her many times, but this time she left him speechless, with witnesses. He mocked her. He made her pain into a joke, but now the punchline was his. He always acted like the house was his alone. He reminded her often that she had no rights to anything. He said he paid for it, chose it, and controlled it. Whenever they argued, he pointed to the door and told her to leave. One day, he actually forced her out. She left without a word, holding her bag, standing on the front steps as he shut the door behind her. He thought it was over, that she'd stay gone, with nowhere to go. He didn't know what she knew and what she had planned. The house wasn't just his. Years ago, they had signed the paperwork together. Her name was right there on the title. He never bothered to check. He believed he had all the power, but he never read the fine print. She went straight to her lawyer and explained everything. The lawyer reviewed the documents and nodded. "You have every right to that house," he said. That was all she needed. They filed quickly. It wasn't about revenge. It was about fairness. She wasn't going to stay quiet after being kicked out of a place that was partly hers. She wanted what the law said she was owed. When the court date came, She showed up calm, prepared, with every paper in order. He didn't. He walked in, acting like nothing could touch him. But when the judge reviewed the title and saw her name, things changed fast. He argued, claimed she didn't earn it, said she never helped. The judge didn't care about stories, only facts. And the facts said she was the legal co-owner. It didn't matter who shouted louder. The decision was final. She got the house. He was ordered to move out. When she returned, the key still worked. She opened the door and stepped inside, quiet and steady. The rooms were empty. He had left in a hurry. He didn't think this would happen. He had said she was nothing without him, that she'd never survive on her own. Now he was sleeping in a motel, and she was standing in the doorway of her own home. She didn't gloat. She didn't brag. She just walked to the kitchen, made tea, and sat by the window. She had been thrown out once. Now she had the keys. He thought he owned everything, but in the end, the truth was written in black and white, and it had her name on it. He went to sleep without a care, breathing steady and deep, like nothing had happened. But she sat alone in the bathroom, lights dim, holding her arm. It hurt, but she stayed still. No noise, no panic, just focus. She pulled out her phone and took pictures. One of her arm, another of her shoulder, then the mark near her ribs. Clear, close, sharp images. She saved each one carefully. She didn't delete a single thing. Then she opened her notes app and started typing. The time, the words he used, what led up to it, everything. Not just from that night, but from before. Past dates, past incidents, things she had pushed aside. She wrote them all down. The next day, while he was at work, she went to the clinic, told the nurse she fell. But when the nurse looked closer and asked again, she gave the truth in a quiet voice. They wrote it in her file. She kept a copy. After that, she contacted a lawyer. She spoke softly but clearly. She showed the photos, handed over her notes, and explained her plan. She wasn't confused. She was ready. Each day, she gathered more. Bank records, texts, voicemails. She even recorded one of his angry outbursts on her phone while he shouted in the other room. Not a word from her, just his voice. He noticed nothing. He thought she was acting normal, but that's because he wasn't paying attention. When everything was in place, the lawyer filed the case. Her documents were strong. The judge saw the photos, read the reports, listened to her story, and believed her. The next time he opened the door expecting peace, it wasn't there. A man stood outside, handed him papers, and said, "You've been served." It was fast, simple, unavoidable. He looked around, stunned. He didn't expect it. He never imagined she'd take it that far. But she had. She had waited until everything was ready. He went to sleep, thinking he had won. She let the law answer for her. For a long time, he made her doubt herself. Every time she cried, he said she was overreacting. When she spoke up, he told her she was making it all up. He said no one would believe her, not her friends, not her family, not even the police. Over time, those words sank in. She began to question her own thoughts. When he shouted, then smiled like nothing happened, she felt confused. When he lied, then blamed her for being too emotional, she started to think maybe she was the problem. That was how he controlled her, not with his hands, but with his voice. He didn't need to scream all the time. Sometimes, it was the quiet words that cut deepest. "You're too sensitive. You remember things wrong. You just want attention." She stopped telling people what was going on. She felt ashamed, even when she hadn't done anything wrong. But deep inside, she still had a small voice telling her the truth. It was faint, but it was there. One day, she decided to listen to it. She began keeping records. She wrote things down, dates, times, what was said. She saved messages. She didn't delete anything anymore. She found the strength to visit a counselor and told them everything. Then she found a lawyer and showed him all her notes and messages. Her hands trembled, but her words were steady. The lawyer told her she had a real case, that she wasn't crazy, that what she had been through mattered. In court, he stood tall and calm. He smiled like he always did, spoke like nothing was wrong. He thought he would win again, like always. But this time, he wasn't in charge. The judge listened to both sides, reviewed the documents, and saw the truth in black and white. She didn't cry while she spoke. She didn't break down. She had already done all of that, alone, in silence for years. Now she just told the truth, one clear sentence at a time. The judge ruled in her favor. She watched as the decision was read out loud. The same man who once told her, "You're imagining things," was now standing in front of a courtroom that didn't believe him. This time, someone believed her, and it wasn't just anyone. It was the law. In the beginning, she cared deeply for him. They built a life together, shared plans, and promised each other a future. But as time passed, he changed. His voice grew colder, his actions harsher. What started as angry words turned into bruises. Then worse. She hid the injuries under long sleeves and careful makeup. She smiled in public, even when it hurt to move. She didn't tell anyone, not because she wanted to stay, but because she was scared. He had taken away her confidence, little by little. He told her no one would help her, that no one would care. But after the last time, when the pain was too deep, the injury too serious, she knew she couldn't wait any longer. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the person staring back. That's when something inside her shifted. Not just sadness, not just anger, purpose. She went to the hospital. This time, she told the truth. The nurses took notes. The doctors took pictures. Everything was recorded. She asked for copies and kept them safe. She wasn't just planning to leave. She wanted to make sure he couldn't do this again. She worked with her lawyer and gave them everything. Medical records, photos, messages, even the audio she had recorded when he was yelling threats. It was all real, and now it was all in the hands of people who could act on it. The case didn't move fast, but she stayed patient. She went to every meeting, answered every question, showed up to every hearing. He tried to lie, said she was unstable, said she hurt herself for attention, but her evidence was strong, and more people started listening. When the court made its final decision, it wasn't just about the divorce. It was about justice. The judge ordered him to pay damages. He was charged and sentenced. He couldn't just walk away this time. There were real consequences now. She stood outside the courtroom afterward, breathing deeply. She had walked in with fear, but walked out with peace. She had done more than leave. She had taken a stand. He couldn't hurt her anymore. And because of her, he wouldn't hurt the next woman either. He thought she was weak. He thought he could get away with it forever. But she proved him wrong. With every scar turned into evidence, and every painful memory turned into action. Do you think she did the right thing by making him face the consequences? Or should she have just walked away and started fresh without going to court? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd really like to hear what you think. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new one.